I introduce you to the Legend of Sanctamonium and Fantasilandia. Musical, action-adventure, historical drama TV show that will go for 20 seasons. It has been pre-approved for the entire 20 years. So it is about... so that's up there with the O'Reilly factor. Only I am inventing, this is a new genre. So there are a couple of original concepts, reasons why it is a new genre of television show. And it is the best genre because it is the most educational. What it is my fantasy land, where I act out fantasy stories like a TV show. That is here, and I invent special places around Boulder and call them special names and have my own special stories. Like a tale, and but it is the ideas are taken from real stories, but in a way that is better, more educational than any done before. Some other genres that are similar to this one are fantasy history stories like Lord of the Rings, not fantasy history, fantasy, stories, sagas and tales, kind of like a history story. Lord of the Rings, Conan, this kind of thing. And they kind of take a lot of their ideas off of real life. And there are a lot of, motifs and parables and stuff, I guess, life lessons that the movies try to teach you. But I take it scientifically, literally. I'm going to pair my television show and my fantasy country, world, off of Rome. And all of the events that happen here are the same events that happened in Rome. And it happens in the same order and in the same time interval between them. It's all the same story. I'm telling the story, the history of Rome, with my own made-up country here in Boulder. And every single event that happens in the story is taken from Rome. So every single town in Fantasilandia has a sister town in ancient Rome. It's paired, town for town. There are hundreds of towns that we have recorded and know exactly where they are, and we can even see their wall outline. Little hilltop fort towns throughout Italy. And so each and every one will have its sister city here. And it will be its sister city because it will be the same exact distance from Rome, or that the town that is in Italy is the same exact distance from Rome as the fantasy town will be from my capital of Fantasilandia, which is Haystack Mountain, because it is the great temple in the capital city, which is about 300 feet high, about as big as your average big pyramid. I have a website, and I'll show it in just a second, for Fantasilandia. It's at its very beginning stages, but I'm going to show it. I had to do the video now. So, check it out. That's my pet squirrel. He's really cute. He's not afraid of me at all. Hey, little guy, how's it going? Yeah, boogie boogie, snoochy snoochy. See, he's thinking about going up to his house, but he knows that I'm watching him. He lives up there. He has this whole area. See, watch. Watch, he's going to hike up. Check this out. Yeah, he has that whole area. That whole area to himself. Whole area. He's living the life, man. Okay, so it's not just paired spatially, and so the towns are paired, each town for town. So obviously the tribes will be paired, tribe for tribe, and each tribe will be the same size. So the sister tribe will be the same size as the sister tribe, and then will be the same distance from Haystack Mountain as the tribe was from Rome. And as well as the language groups will pair exactly the same, overlapping the same tribes, same everything, exactly the same, as well as the battles. Okay, so not only will the towns be paired exactly in the battles and everything, the locations and the roads and all that, but all of the events as well, all of the personal events between the people, all the political events, the laws, the dramas, the causes of wars, the intrigues, everything is the same. I take it, the same intrigue, and then I switch it to make it original and mine, appropriate to my particular story, which is completely different. Here, let me just do a quick segue and explain the concept of the fantasy history genre. I was talking to my brother a few months ago, and I was telling him that I like real life history stories, and he says he prefers fantasy type of history stories, like witches and warlocks and zombies and this kind of stuff, and because it allows for more creativity for the creators of the show. And so my Fantasilandia utilizes that concept to allow just as much creativity as I want. I can create whatever I want, but all of the events are paired, and it's the same event as from Rome. And it's similar enough so that if you were to become a fan of my TV show and remember all of the events, then you would remember the events of Rome because they're similar enough. You would be able to tell the exact history of Rome. So that's how it is educational. If you know my show, then you know Rome. It's basically telling the history of Rome. And it's not just with the stories of the people and the locations of things, but it's also the passage of time. The passage of time will be exactly the same, consistent, because I'm telling this history of Rome for the first 1,000 years of Rome from 753 BC until 271 AD, 200 years before the fall of Rome. Rome lasted about 1,200 years from the founding until the fall of the empire, and then the city was large for another 75 years after that, until the Vandals just took apart the aqueducts and the water couldn't get in there anymore in 526. But I'm going to tell the story until 271, the first 1,000 years, because my television show is slated for exactly 20 seasons, from I'm 40 until I'm 60. So it'll be the time where I'm in my intellectual and physical vigor, where my intellectual height and my physical height overlap, and I can do the television show. So if I'm telling the story of Rome and Fantasilandia for 1,000 years, and the television show is for 20 years, then I condense time by a factor of 50. So 1 second here is 50 seconds in real time Rome in Fantasilandia. So when I have, and my television shows will be daily, at least that's the idea. No, it will be daily. So every day I do a television show, but in Fantasilandia, every day that's 50 days that has gone by. It is a month. So if I get up and the next day you have to pick it up 50 days later. Okay, so now I will explain the actual mechanics of the television show. So it takes place. The television show is acting out. The channel, it's its own channel, and it is acting out the events in my living room that are supposed to be inside of the pyramid, the great temple. The pyramid is the capital building of Fantasilandia, the King's Court. And it is where we do our deliberations on what to do, and we do our we sing our songs. We have the song singer come in and sing what has happened to the court. This is how we, and he sings in front of the populace who comes. This is how the people know what happened and know what the country will do, is by the minstrel singing. And that is part of the show. The other part of the show is the debating of what shall's to be done and what has been done and why, and the laws, debating of the laws that must be passed, and the characters speaking there. And then it would segue to other places where the characters would speak their things. And then also on the battlefield, all the speeches on the battlefield, I will have a green screen so I can have the background of the battlefield while I speak. And so that is the speaking part of the television show. The other part are the actual military campaigns, where you go out to the, or not just that, but also the dramatic, the things that happen, the stories, the trips that people made, the famous trips people made, and the military campaigns. And so when there is a battle going on with a certain town, that is when, in the television show, I ride my bicycle out to that town, and I film the journey out, and I show in the video where all of the towns, the fantasy towns, which are connected to real-life Rome, are, and what country we are, and who they are, and what language they speak, and their customs and things. And then when I come back from the ride, I have successfully done the battle! Yay, we have won that battle! So whenever a certain battle comes around on the timeline, the 50-year condensed timeline of my television show, that's when I have to do that bicycle ride to that place. And I have to come back and we have to have that battle in my story. And so that is when we actually gain more territory for the kingdom on my fantasy kingdom superimposed here in Boulder. I can add territory to it. And I illustrate this with Google Earth, with KLM files, with the little shadings over that people can download and trace along with me, and I show on the television show. I show it kind of like with, Indiana Jones, and then he goes this way, or like Lord of the Rings with the map of the area. I'll show the map, and I'll show. So for my bicycle rides, I'll show the actual trip that we do over the mountains, like a bird's eye view, and when I come back from the ride, whatever time that I get, or how I do compared to the other people, that is how well I did with the battlers, with the warriors of that land. So I was 60% back on the warriors. 60% of the warriors were... In Fantasilandia, they ride their bikes a lot, so they do battle by riding bikes around, and then... I haven't completely figured that out, but it's this place where the warriors ride their bicycles around, and there are different warriors who are better for different distances, and they do different things. So if you're going to win the battle, you have to ride there and back. Well, if it's big, farther away, really far away, which most of the big battles in Rome are, you have to be able to ride there and back in one ride. And then when they're super far away, you have to do it like in one trip within 5 days or something. I don't know, but or maybe do it within a certain amount of time. Maybe paired with what day you can march. But And a lot of the battles I will pair with mountains. So I have 300 mountains around Boulder, and there are about, I think, 200 battles. Here, let me show you. I'll show you my website now. Okay, these are the battles. It is about, almost close to 200 battles. Were all the battles that Rome fought in. These ones, that's 100 right there. Or, oh no, it's not. Well, originally I had it set up 20 by 20, but then I just organized them closest to Rome to farthest. But this is a total of just under 200 battles that Rome got in totally. And I have the year and how far away it was. Here, I'll show you the website of Sanctamonium, Fantasilandia. Here's my Fantasilandia website. And here's Haystack versus Real Pyramids. So Haystack is the capital of Fantasilandia, and it's the 7th biggest pyramid on my list. After the Great Pyramid at 481 feet, and then the Pyramid of Khafra, Luxor, Red North, Bent Pyramid, Collapse Pyramid at Medium. These are all Egyptian pyramids. And then Haystacks, 300 feet exactly. And then the Mausoleum, and I think China, Temple 4 in Tikal. We're going all over the world. Cholula, that's the biggest one actually in the world. It's in Mexico, all grown over now. Teotihuacan, Menkaure, all the way down to Temple B, Louvre, 68. So we're up there. Nice big pyramid. We're doing good. 7th biggest. And then here's the time span between Sanctamonium and Rome. See, Rome and Sanctamonium is 1,000 years. So it's 753 BC until 271 AD. I don't know why I say 247 there. Rome had actually a calendar. Year 1 was 753 BC. So this is the same calendar that Rome really uses. So I'll do year 1, 2, 3, 4 in Sanctamonium just like with Rome. Okay, but I'll also show which year it was in BC with Rome, as well as in Sanctamonium. Sanctamonium, I'm going to say, happened like 10,000, 15,000 years ago, and it was contemporaneous with Atlantis, and the Atlanteans were the gods who were dealing with Atlanteans were also the same gods who were dealing with Sanctamonium and gave us our bicycles so we could ride around town really fast, and that's why we believed in the gods, and like the gods helped make the pyramid for us and that kind of stuff. And so it's 50, right? So 1 year in my time is 50 years in Roman time, Roman/Sanctamonium time. 1 month is 4 months, 4 years and 2 months. So like 1 month would be like month to month. If I were to do a video every month, once a month, or I would say I do my calendar, but like it's the first every new month. It's like a new presidential election or a new Olympics. The 1st of December, one presidential election, 1st of January, the next presidential, next Olympics. So, and I'll just get used to that, and I'll figure out how the years pass by. So 1 week is 350 days. So a week on my real life is about a year in ancient Rome, or in Fantasilandia. So, you got to keep up with what's going on, or it'll get away from you on it. But it's not too spread out that you can't learn it. You can learn the entire history of Rome if you just pay attention to what's going on my TV show. So 1 hour is 2 days and 2 hours. So like 1 hour here. So it's pretty much translates pretty well. Like a year is 4 months. One day is like a month and a half, 50 days. 1 week is a year, and then 1 week in my time, 1 week plus 7 hours and 12 minutes is a year. So 1 week here, 1 day here is a year there. 1 week. That says right here. 1 week here is a year there, and 1 day is 7 weeks. 1 day there. So like I guess a month and a half. 1 day here would be like 50 days. 1 hour is 2 days and 2 hours. 1 minute is 50 minutes. So like 1 minute here is like an hour. There. Yeah. 1 month here, 4 years there. 1 week here. 1 year there. 1 day here, 2 weeks there, or 2 months there, week and a half. And then 1 hour here, 2 days there. 1 minute here, 1 hour here. 1 minute here, 1 hour there, roughly. 1 hour here, 60 hours there. Yeah, 1 second here, 50 seconds there. 1 hour here, 1 second. God damn it, I can't do it. Let me do it. 1 second here, 1 minute there. 1 minute here, 1 hour there. Okay, that's it, pretty much. Okay, sorry. My brain works, but not always that good. Okay, Sanctamonium versus Roman timeline. Okay, so 0 out of 50, right, would be like 1,000, more or less, to 500. Oh, in my timeline, how it works out. And then 500 to 1,000 in Sanctamonium would be 500 to a 0 in my timeline, and then 1,000 to 1,500 would be 0 to 500. It's just so you know where to link it. And so anyway, I have all of the mountains in Sanctamonium would be the same, would be paired with mountains in Rome. That's a list I'm going to make. All the rivers, I try to pair them. Obviously you can't do it exactly. But then towns and then the battles. And so here's the timeline. I will make, I will pair up the timelines. And so that's that. That's the website that I have it developed right now. So, so I will, I'll just get screen captures from Google Earth and I'll put them on the website. Like this is, Clusium, and this is its sister city here, or these are the Herniki, and this is their sister tribe here. And so that's pretty novel if it's all paired like that. And so it's a musical. So whenever I do my arguments in front of the court and speaking for the laws and all this kind of stuff, I'll have different characters, and different characters will have different wigs. The king, this is the crown for the king. The king's crowned. Dun, 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 dun. It means he's the highest. He's the mounted. He's the high-mounted king, the high-mounted Lord and Savior, the king of the mount. You see, if you're high-mounted, that means you're up above and you can see everybody, and they can see you. So he's got the wings on it to signify that he's high and he can fly. And then you have Minimus, and then so he's the guy who always likes to preach for progressiveness. And then you have Minimus Maximus, who is the conservative. This is Minimus Maximus. He has the mullet. He's like, no, thou shalt not go to war, thou shalt not so true. See, all of them do their preaches, their speeches. In song, by way of song. And then you have the old man, the old wise man, who likes to, I guess, give his wise sayings before. So here's his. It's kind of complicated to put his wig on, but there's this. Anyway, and then he has a big old beard, which I'm not even going to bother to put on. But yeah, and then I have the Jesus robe. I'll utilize that, I guess, for the pontiff or something. And then, and I'll get more like capes. I'll get a cape. And I have swords. And then I have my Speedo, because and I think I want to get some diapers and paint them brown, and because for like, there's various, and then I can hang like daggers off of them. That will be like my battle outfit. One of my battle outfits. The other one will be the Speedos. Because in the TV show, I'm going to do lots of riding, so you want to do body transformation. And so you have to, you want to be in your Speedos to show as much of your muscles as you can. Especially when you get muscular, you want to show your muscles. So it is it's basically allows for the full exhibition of my creativity, wings to expand, and switch any story, and you can add stories, but it's also to be a educational experience, because you're teaching the history of Rome. Exactly, you're teaching the history of Rome, but it's especially magical for the people who take part in it physically. See, this is part of Bikeversity, because I'm going to ride out to all of the battles and towns of ancient Rome. So I'll basically travel back in time and live in ancient Rome, and go out to all of the different towns in ancient Rome. There's a bee here. So, I am. I get to learn physically. Actually, now it's on the camera. In a way that will provide amazing insight, and because it will increase the interest level of it if you're actually going to the real place and it's the actual distance away, because you know how long it took them to do it in those days. For example, when they went to depose King Tarquin, they rode back in one day or in one half day, 20 miles, and they got back just at dusk from Laurentium and Laurentium. So, and then, Caesar did certain marches in 50 days from Rome all the way to Spain and this kind of stuff. So you know how far they went. And you know how many days march it was to certain towns, because it says in the book. So you just so as you go, you know how long it takes the army, but you also know how long it took them. Their Pony Express, they had a certain type of horse relay system every 40 miles, so they could travel about as fast as you can on a bike anyway. So you can imagine yourself as a messenger, and I'll create lots of superimposed trips here. And then make a fantasy story around them so that you can be part of it. For example, I want to have a trip where you go from here all the way to Lake Dillon in Summit County and back from Boulder, because you can go over the mountains, so you can be in wilderness the entire time, and you have access to water the entire time too, because there's glaciers up there, or snowfields. You go up there in this right time of year in June. And you don't have to, just bring enough food with you, and then you've got the water, and you just go, and you can pretend like you're way in the middle of nowhere in the land, and it's the same distance from that Pheidippides ran from Athens to Sparta in one day, in a day and a half, they said, so, or like one day, yeah, so it's like 150 miles, so if you can do that run from here to there in one day and then back, that's you being like Pheidippides, so matching Pheidippides. And then once we do all of those endurance feats paired with Sanctamonium and ancient Rome, you're learning Rome and you're learning this place, and then people can compete with each other that way. There's a new kind of way that we should compete that allows more people to participate. One that I cannot go on a bike ride until I finish my website is because if I do go on a bike ride, I will feel bad. Like there's this heavy feeling in my heart, like I don't deserve. I shouldn't. I'm wasting my time. I shouldn't be. I'm not doing anything. I'm not creating or causing anything good. I'm just on a bike ride or whatever. But it's fun, and I want to do it, and I want it. So I want it to be plugged into something else and bigger, and I think part of not feeling bad about it is because the other people want to do it. I think it's possible to allow any and everybody who wants to do it to do it. It shouldn't be something that gets crowded out, where there isn't enough room or space for other people. Some people have that attitude about nature. The 24 Hours of Moab was one of the biggest 24-hour mountain bike races in the United States, and it had to be discontinued after 2012 because people were complaining about mountain bikers destroying the environment, but it was over, and they were charging permit fees that were too expensive, but it was over dirt roads that Jeeps and motorcycles were already on. And these are bicyclists pedaling. And so as long as you keep it with bicycle and not motorized vehicles, you're not damaging the land. You're using the land as a playground, what it's supposed to be used for. Bicycle tires cause less damage than horse hooves, and horses are what we've used since the beginning of time. And horses are allowed places where bicycles are not, so it's not fair. And horses are expensive to take care of. They, it's like a rich man's sport, and it's not fair. We should give rights to everybody who can afford it, in a sport where it will allow everybody to fit in, and that's bicycles, not horses. Horses back up. You can't pass horses. When you have a bunch of people on horses, they're all slow, taking up all of the trail. You have to wait for them. You have 5 bicyclists, and then zoom, they're back and out of there. So you could have any and everybody from all over the world come and migrate, and I'm not afraid. Come and migrate right here to Boulder, and get up there and ride. Black people, brown people, everybody all together up on the trails. And you're not going to have overcrowding, because there are going to be bicyclists, and bicyclists can't go too fast to crash into each other and kill each other. And if they do, they're not going to hurt each other, because they're not going that fast. And you can, and the more the merrier too, because when you're out in nature, and there's children and all this kind of stuff, and there's people, you're going to want other people around in case you get a flat. You can borrow a pump or tubes off of water or food off of people. And then people motivate people. People nowadays, so many people, 3,500 people did the Ironman here in Boulder, the first Ironman, and fat people are doing it. And back to 30 years ago, it was like something only super people could do. But now everybody does it, because a lot of people do it, because lots of people do it. So it's kind of like a 100th monkey type of a thing. The story of 100th monkey, where there's this one island where somebody a monkey figured out how to open up a coconut by bashing a rock on it, and so then all the monkeys on the island learned, and then somehow the monkeys on the other island learned how to do it, because it like telepathically, kind of just osmosis, they picked up on it. It's kind of like gets in the air, it's like, and then it's just something that everybody does, and it's normal. You don't have to be hardcore, and so because it's fun. Like I could ask a billionaire for money to do bike rides all day long. He might go, "Why would I give you money just to have fun?" Well, exactly. It's having fun. So, because somebody could say the same thing. Why would I give you money if nobody wants to ride their bike and get all hot and sweaty? Wait, so you don't want to give me money because it's fun and also because it's sweaty? Why don't you give me money for both the reasons? Because it's fun and because it teaches you, it's the best way to learn and to have fun and learn at the same time. And it doesn't take resources, because it just takes a bicycle. Bike parts. You can't get any more efficient than that. And there's no pollution, because it's the people, and then that's people getting more and more physically strong. And see, that's the other concept, is it keeps you strong. When you have a life where you're writing out. See now I'm talking about Bikeversity, where Fantasilandia is me doing it myself, but whatever I do, I want everybody else to do. So then I'm imagining everybody creating their own little Fantasilandia, and they can make their own story. About what happened, parables, their own little parables based off of what really happened, because that's how we all learn anyway. It's by parable. So let me explain the parable concept with Fantasilandia, the positive self. It helps me with the creativity, but it also helps other people understand, because if you can understand my story and you're interested in it, then you understand the concept, and then you can understand the one that really happened in Rome. And if you can understand the two, even though it's not the same story, you understand that the concept is the same, and then you can bring it to a third party and the rest of the world, and then we can all understand each other. That's how parables work. It's to help to show that we're all the same, and that the relationships and the dynamics all happen similarly. So then other people can make their own little Fantasilandia. You could call it Fantasy Placia, and make your own story, but it's the same story, but in your own parable, just to illustrate that you grasp the concept for Bikeversity. It's one of the responsibilities for Bikeversity. You have to do well on the history test, you listen to I'm doing Bikeversity. That's another video. And then you have to do the videos where you explain your own parable stories, and then you have to do the bike rides, and then you have to make the website where you do something original. You create your original story. So, but that's another video. So Fantasilandia is basically me living the life and going to the places, and then making my own TV show for 20 years, and then Bikeversity is trying to get other people to come along with me. So, and do it themselves. But with yeah, fantasy. I was talking really fast there. Fantasilandia. The cool thing about Boulder and Rome is that it's very similar. Rome was in the plains, kind of, Latium, and we're in the plains in this area. But then they were near the mountains, where the mountain people were, and so we're near the mountains where the mountain people were, and it's all about the same distance away. And there even was a big lake up in the mountains, about 50 miles away. Same thing with us. We have Lake Granby. They had Lake Fukina. So they had forests, that were kind of impenetrable. We have like mountainous forests that are like that. So, and we even have a very wild world. We have mountain lions and bears still out here. So, and I think in those days they may have too. So, I'm in the process of tracing the tribal areas right now, and I'll have them for download pretty soon on my website. It's so fascinating for me, because when I figure out where these tribes were and finding out the borders and the capital cities and knowing exactly how big a political unit is in a kingdom, you can understand the world. You start to enter the world, and then you're basically living in ancient Rome just as in the present. You're straddling, and when you're listening to the history books like that, because that's what I do on my bike rides. I listen to the actual history books written by people who lived way back then, 2,000 years ago. Those are your friends. So you're thinking you live in the past just as much in the present. I mean, you can't talk to him, but he's talking to you all the time, just like I talk to you. You don't talk to me, but I talk to you. You know me? Well, I know Livy the way you know me. Their personality, everything, but also the people they're talking about, because in their history stories, they quote people exactly, and so you're actually learning from the people even before Livy, from like Romulus and stuff. So I have to create the maps first, and then once I create the map, I'll show you guys, and then I'll do the video. I'll start acting it out once I get my website caught up. It'll probably be another year. But, yeah, so 20 years, 642 until I'm 62. Yes, Fantasilandia. I call it Sanctamonium, because that's the original kingdom around here. The original kingdom of Rome was about 20 kilometers in diameter, so it's from like Boulder to Longmont, centered around Haystack Mountain. And then Fantasilandia would be the greater world, fantasy world that I'm in, that I deal with. And then so when we do battles like in France, the France to Italy would kind of be like Utah to me, Moab. So I would go off to Moab and do bike riding around there. Now, when I go out there, I'm also going to include motorbike. You can do motorbike with these, but my idea with motorbikes is that it's only for when you go on longer distance ones, way far away, or you don't have a car to drive your bicycle out to, or you want to do super long ones. But the idea is to do them later on a bicycle, And you can't have everybody come here and do it on motorbikes, because people would lose their interest, and just ride your motorbike out just because they did it in the past. You'd be like, why am I doing this again? Because you kind of zone out, and the space goes by too fast, and you're not there in it. Like if you're on a bicycle, it's the same thing as if you're on a horse. You're actually feeling the land. There's no sound. You're going the same speed. It's the same thing. So then you really appreciate it. And I'm thinking about the future where everybody does it. Everybody can be up on these trails way up in the mountains on single track, passing each other with bicycles everywhere, and nobody will get in anybody's way. You can pass each other and stuff. But imagine if there's hundreds of people if they're on motorcycles. It'll be like everybody on a highway. It'll be ruined, and nobody will have fun, and it'll be too expensive. We'll destroy the environment, and then we'll crash into each other and kill each other, and then it won't. You have to do it on bicycles, man. But see, that's the thing. It keeps you strong. One thing about history is people would get weak. They would get indolent and weak, like especially the rich, and then sit on their ass, and then they would hire other people out to fight their wars for them, and then they'd get their asses kicked when they would run out of money and they couldn't defend themselves. So if we have a lifestyle where we learn and we're riding our bicycles all the time, then it keeps you strong, mentally strong, physically strong. And so you're never going to be weak, and you're never going to be not unvigilant, You'll always be paying attention to your politicians and not letting anybody get away with shenanigans, and, not letting foreigners come and bring these inferior cultures to us, we'll have a strong culture, we'll be strong people because we ride our bikes all day long, physically strong. And being physically strong helps you be mentally strong because it increases the blood circulation throughout your whole body, including your brain. So, and it is possible to learn and pay attention. It's the best situation to learn and pay attention to things when you're riding your bike because you can concentrate on it, on what you're listening to, because it doesn't take much concentration to ride a bicycle, and you can explore the land around you, and you can actually get an understanding of what a language is. What makes a language, what makes a village, what makes it a city-state. People will understand why people don't travel or didn't. And then, you would understand, because of how big of a language is and how big of a country is, how much people traveled and therefore how much money they had to travel. It was only the rich people who could travel all over with horses. Not everybody could have a horse in those days there in Italy, or in France, So, the peasants were only on foot, so then you would know, if you're on foot, this is how far you could travel throughout your lifetime, because this is the language area of the people. And so then you could imagine people traveling by foot around, to learn things, and then you could be, and then so part of Sanctamonium could be traveling on your bicycle. That would be the equivalent of horse travel. But then another could be just doing it running, like running from Boulder to Summit County along the mountains, along the tops of the mountains, would be like somebody doing it on foot. And it's historically accurate. That's how a lot of people travel. That's why we had language groups that were so small and countries that were so small, because most of the people did travel on foot. But so you can be both. But it brings, Sanctamonium brings real life into it as well. It kind of, because I have my bike racer level pages. So you have all of the best warriors who could travel from here to here. See, the best warrior, I would translate the best warrior from the past into being the best biker now. So if you have a biker who can do the 1 hour or you can do 40 kilometers in an hour, then you can get from this town to that town. So I haven't figured that part out yet, but or if you could do 200 miles in a day, then you're this order. You have different levels of bike racer level page for 100, so those are the different orders of warrior. So, and just like, every town doesn't have somebody who's at the highest level. You would have, the great warrior, legendary warrior from the other side of the country, 1,000 miles away, and then when they come, the ancient Olympics would be modern day bicycle races. But you see, where Sanctamonium allows everybody to ride, or Bikeversity, everybody can do it. Like anybody who wants to do it can come do it. Same thing with the bike racing. You don't have to show up at the bike race and do well on the certain day. You just have to do the certain distance. It's whatever your personal best is at the certain distance. That's the level of warrior you are. And so then you can consider yourself I am the greatest of this land, but I'm also the greatest of the lands of lands. Because you're that good. Just have it all scientifically, because it's Bikeversity is all about grading. It's the educational system, trying to make it mainstream. So the grading of the physical feats of the bicycle rides is that's how the grading works on that, and it's also what motivates people to do it. People want to compare themselves with other people and try to be the best, and so when you create a framework for it, a grading system for it, that is independent of actual races. It's just you can go out whenever you want and do your best at this certain distance, on a flat road, because everybody has flat roads around. Then you can find your level. And so that's on the physical side. And then there's the mental side, finding your level on the history test. But that'll be Bikeversity. That's another video. So, because in Fantasilandia, when you're riding about your bike every day to all the different battles, because every day is another month, and there were battles all the time every couple of years. So every couple of months you'd have to go on some big ride out somewhere, So the days in between would just be you, I guess, doing your rounds throughout your kingdom, of how big the kingdom was. And once the kingdom gets bigger, your rides have to be bigger, but that's because the battles you have to go to have to be bigger. So as the years go by, throughout the 20 years, you have to become a better rider, because the kingdom is getting bigger. And so the idea, this is kind of going back to Bikeversity, the idea is that people could start at the age of 15 when they're not that strong, and then they can't do the big rides. And then as they get stronger and older, they can do the bigger ones. So 15 until 25, 35, until they're 35, and they're totally badass. 20 years. So, and and I'll get stronger too as I start. So I can start small and get big, just like the kingdom did. And so you're growing with the kingdom, and you're learning how it works. And see, then once you learn history that well about Rome, then that sparks your interest in learning about all of the other kingdoms in the world, and and listen to the audiobooks list that I have about all of history on your bike ride. So, and see, that will teach you to have a great appreciation for the concept of local living. You would know how, kingdoms in the past were designed by, and language groups by how people who did business with each other. So they all did business with each other. So you would have the same concept now. Your county is your language group. So let's try to keep it here and do business with each other, because you're riding your bike around, so you appreciate the concept of low impact, low overhead, low overhead fee, just cheap, running and being strong, just riding your bike around. So if you're going to do that and live cheap like that and frugal, then you're also going to want to do that with the economy and not want to import food from a long ways away. You're going to want to have like skyscraper buildings here that grow your fruit and vegetables here, and not want to import even things from other factories. You're going to want to have your factories here, and then you're going to have a concept of a local economic system that's around the same size as the local economic and political system of the past, because it was small in the past, and it was and they all had their identities. Each culture, each tribe had their own identities and customs and cultures, and so when you have each area with your own laws and local customs and cultures, you would also have your concept of local economy and everything. So the concept of Fantasilandia here, paired off of Rome, helps the concept of local economy and living. So it basically covers all the bases. It covers all the bases for me, creativity, covers all the bases for the people who watch educationally, and it also offers an opportunity for everybody in the world to take part and do it themselves, and to spread their wings of creativity as far as they want. So that is basically Sanctamonium and Fantasilandia, with explaining how it integrates with the rest of my website. But I'll do another video talking about bike Verity in itself later. Ooh, that's been 47 minutes. Okay, ciao ciao.